What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well. If you're new to the channel, my name is Wheaton, but if you've been here before, welcome back. As a mechanical engineer, I watch F1 for entertainment, but also to revel in the insane technology that creates these racing machines. However, certain practices, like tire blankets, the topic of today's video, limit the competitive edge that some teams can gain. From an engineering perspective, F1 is about putting the best people and minds together who can create the best performing car. After all, both a good driver and car are needed to win at the highest level. So, what is a tire blanket and why should Formula One abandon these tools? Maintaining the optimal tire temperature is the name of the game in F1. Pirelli's rubber compounds require an operating temperature of anywhere from 85 to 140 degrees Celsius, depending on the softness of the tire compound. This is based off of a 2019 release from the tire company, but we can assume that the current tires hover around the same area of temperatures. This is where the tire blankets come in. If you have ever watched any F1 free practice, qualifying, or race, you've probably seen them. They are the electric heating pads that are wrapped around the car's tires anytime that the engine is off, with the goal of maintaining the tire temperature at or near its operating temperature. This allows the tires to be turned on like a switch by all the teams right out of the garage. However, imagine a race without tire blankets. This is just a hypothetical, but hear me out for a second, as this will take some explaining. Tires heat up while driving due to the various forces acting on them, which creates friction against the driving surface. This friction produces heat as the two materials rub against each other. Now, we also know that each team's car produces a different amount of downforce. The Mercedes might have more rear-end downforce than a Red Bull, or a McLaren could make more rear-end downforce than any of them. These varying amounts of downforce will each work the tires differently. Thus, each team would have a tire advantage at different stages of the race. A car that heats tires up quicker will also wear them down faster. Now, we kind of saw a glance of how this would work at Portimao. The cold weather reversed any heating that the blankets did while the cars lined up on the grid. We then proceeded to see Kimi Räikkönen and Carlos Sainz, both on a softer compound, a compound that has a lower operating temperature, take off to the front of the grid as the race began. Let's look at another example. Again, without tire blankets, assume that we are in Q3, a session that normally only has time for about 2 qualifying laps. If a driver can't get their tires to optimal temperature by the end of their outlap, they face 2 options: waste time on another installation lap to achieve the correct temperature, or go on a hot lap knowing full well that they might not have the best performance possible, thus adding to another layer that dictates qualifying performances. By removing tire blankets, we give another factor to F1 teams to consider when designing their car. Choose a car that is quicker to turn their tires on, that eats tires quicker, or a slow burn approach that can extend the life of their tires but heat them up slower. Additionally, a driver's ability to manage their tire temperature becomes much more important. Overall, this could lead to more interesting qualifying and racing in F1 by introducing another aspect that a team or driver can excel at. Of course, I know this is not something that can happen overnight. Pirelli's tire compounds have to be safe enough for a team to put them on cold. Of course, we don't want them sliding off the track like they're driving on an ice rink. A possible solution could be to decrease the temperature at which the tire blankets heat to. The current blankets heat the front tires to about 100 degrees and the rears to about 80. Perhaps changing the blankets to 70 degrees in the front and 50 degrees in the rear could shed some light on how this might play out in the real world. Unfortunately, we will probably never see something like this, although it is something a Pirelli engineer could tell us based on data that they possess. Interestingly enough, though, when the plans were being drawn up for the tire switch in 2021, now 2022 due to COVID, the plans originally had for there to be no tire blankets. Unfortunately, this decision was reversed as Pirelli felt the blankets could help the transition from the 13-inch tires to the 18-inch tires. After all, tire integrity is the most important factor for them both as a company and a supplier. However, it seems that we are stuck with tire blankets for the near future, but it's certainly an interesting topic to talk about. How does this hypothetical sound to you? Does adding another layer of skill to F1 make sense as it's the highest pinnacle in motorsport? Well, until next time, I'm Wheaton, and thanks for hanging out with me.